Hello, everyone. It's Matthew Brand, and something has come up that's really bothering people lately. It's the whitewashing of the Asian Americans in Hollywood. It's still going on, and it's really bothering a lot of people. I sympathize. So, as an African American, I want to give my opinion. Personally, every time I see one of these videos come up, the reason I want to give my opinion is because of the comment section. It's like you always see that white person that says, "Why does it matter?" or "I don't understand why it matters." This should just go to the person who's best for the role. But a lot of times, it has nothing to do with who's best for the role, why they chose that actor. They just don't choose Asian American actors, not because of their lack of star power. They just refuse to make them stars, and that's kind of insane when you think about it, because there's a lot of Asians in America, a lot of Asian Americans, and they have the potential to do so much more, but we don't allow them. And that's one of the biggest takeaways from this. So if you remove voice acting and media purposely made to be offensive, when should the line with whitewashing be drawn? Like, when is it seriously bad? And in my opinion, I feel the line should be drawn when you actually have to either change the story or outright put on like yellow face, black face, red face, or whatever to make the character make sense, or just ignore the facts in general and the character doesn't make sense whatsoever. Now, this is not to talk about plays where you can't find that particular actor for the role. I'm not, or somebody to portray that for the role. One of my favorite plays is Avenue Q, and I've never seen a midget or somebody with that liver disease play Gary Coleman. It's just not necessary. But I've also never seen a white person play them either. Now, if you can't find a black person, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're get conveying the thing across. But when you're doing the movie, you have so many accessible actors. It's almost inexcusable. It is inexcusable not to use the person who actually makes sense for the role. So I feel giving people more white features, when they're black, and then giving them more white features because you think that's what should be aesthetically appealing is wrong. I also think that's wrong, but that's for another story. So is it also racist in reverse? When you take a white character and you give him a black role. So for example, Spider-Man. It doesn't happen very often. I don't think it happens often enough for anybody to get mad, especially in lead roles. I saw a lot of things on in the comment sections on these other videos where they talk about Idris Elba playing the Norse god in Thor, and maybe Samuel L. Jackson playing what is it, Nick Fury. So those two characters, is that really it? I mean, they're side characters and very minor characters at best. They barely have a plot point. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, yeah, he does a little bit in Captain America too, but that's it. You barely see him do anything in Captain America or in the Avengers. He might have a small role where he does a little bit, but other than that, there's no. You can't say that Nick Fury is the main role in Avengers. He's not one of the main Avengers. He's a one of the star people, but he's not one of the major actors. And there are no, really ethnic Avengers in the thing. If they replace some of them with some other ethnicity, it wouldn't change the storyline particularly. It just wouldn't. There, Spider-Man is a teen from New York who grows up to learn that with great power comes great responsibility. If you make him black, it's not really going to change that storyline. Now, Captain America was the typical American at the time, a white American who gained fame and powers through a super soldier formula to battle Nazis. Now, if you changed him to a different color, it might edit things a little bit, but not so seriously. But if you took a British actor or an Australian actor or whatever and made him Captain America, that would kind of be destroying what the character itself stands for. I feel like that's just my personal opinion. If you took a British actor, made him Captain America, that would be somewhat destroying what Captain America stands for, because he's a representation of an already born American, someone who was born American, not someone who was born in I can't remember if it's Queens or Brooklyn, but someone who was born American, not someone who just transferred over. It's killing the character somewhat. Another example, Shredder is a samurai from Japan, therefore he should be played by Asian, specifically Japanese if possible. And he's a main character. So switching him to a white person doesn't make much sense. But if you took Tosin from Bleach, uh, if let's say they made a Bleach live action movie, and you took Tosin, the blind man, the black blind man who's one of the captain of the guards. He's a main character as far as the Bleach plotline goes. And you made him white. Yeah, some people might be a little annoyed, but it doesn't actually change the story. Same thing with Yorichi, if I'm pronouncing that right. She's the black girl character who's often the cat. It doesn't actually change the story. So without the actual story changing, there's not that big of a deal. Now, if one of the black cats was changed from the Boondocks in the Boondocks live action movie, the main black cast, it would change the story significantly. It would it would ruin that character's purpose in the satire of what was going on in the Boondocks. Um, so what can be done about it? Remember, your dollar is your vote in America. So when you choose not to watch crap like Gods of Egypt or whatever yellow face actor is going into the next movie, or a movie where they refuse to hire an Asian actor for an Asian role, what you should do is also remember to put a dollar towards one of the independent films where they did choose to use an Asian actor in a lead role. Put your dollar towards that. Let America know that you're not going to put up with it anymore, because we often boycott stuff. We really do. But I often see after people boycott or they stop using a certain product or they choose not to shop at that store or they choose not to watch that movie, they don't take their dollar and spend it elsewhere where there are acceptable and good things to watch outside of mainstream Hollywood. This is how these independent films get so big. But it seems to only become big when you're talking about only black films I've even seen lately, and I think that's why black films bombed at the Oscars. But only ones I've seen lately was the ones where they're depicting a African American hero or some black hero. In the case of Nelson Mandela, they're just talking, rehashing history in this epic movie, you know, retelling of the story, which is fine. But there's so much more they could be doing, and they're not doing it because they have a hard time getting the licenses. And this is one of the biggest things that is plaguing Hollywood right now. They don't come up with new stories. So if you are an ethnic, director or whatever, look for new stories that haven't been bought out and sucked up by mainstream Hollywood, and do a play on them. Let somebody who's not making a buck, and you read their online Amazon book and you're like, man, they're doing great, but they haven't really made a bunch of money, but it's a fantastic book. Take that story. I know it's not as popular, but you can make it popular. Megan Fox wasn't the hottest thing in the world until Michael Bay found her. A lot of these actors and actresses that we're watching lately were not that huge until they were just blown up recently by the movies they were in. So you can't say, oh, all these people are being used just because of their star power. No, it doesn't work like that. But I will accept that some of these movies where they're using people for their star power are like Ghost in the Shell is a movie. It's a lot more obscure. This isn't Naruto. This isn't a movie where you're going to cash in strictly based on the namesake of the property alone. This is something where you have to work with what you've got. And even though tons of people know Ghost in the Shell, it was one of the darker, more rated R, more adult animes. And being that they produced it 20 years later after the manga or anime initially came out or ended, whatever it is, it you're going to need to use something to attract the audience. But the fact that they used all white people for the main cast, that is kind of pretty insulting, I would feel, because if you made a Boondocks and used all white people for the main cast and said, "Oh, it's because they're the best actor for the role," no, that I would call bullshit on that. I would also call it if you did it with any other anime. Now, I get that animes sometimes use white people, and that's something you also have to accept. Animes don't always portray, just because they use Japanese names, don't mean they always portray a Japanese person. And this is something, once again, that a lot of people have to accept. Naruto is a blonde haired, blue eyed boy. Japanese people aren't blonde haired and blue eyed. It just doesn't work that way. Now, Japanese people over in Japan, they idolize that crap over, they idolize white foreigners. They sometimes idolize black foreigners. That's where that, Ganga or whatever girl came from. Don't know the right term for that, but the dark skin, the jet, the crazy hair and all the makeup and stuff. Basically Japanese blackface, but that was done by like preppy girls, not to insult black people, but as a way where they were like, "Oh, I think that's cool," because in the Japan they don't really have foreigners. So when they took that small little video of asking Japanese people their opinions, it's a difference because Japan is only one less than 2% foreign, where America, we're like 50-50. About, sometimes there's a little more Mexicans. If you combine all the minorities, there's more than there are white people. Not to mention all the mixed people, mixed races who just identify as white, who might be part Native American and part whatever. We're just a mix up of people, so you can't identify America as a whole as any particular race. And a lot of other countries probably don't, if you were to look at our politics and our main actors and everything, people looking on the outside, looking in, will be like, oh, America's just full of rich white people. But no, it's legitimately full of diverse people from all types of backgrounds, all types of money levels, and that should be also represented in Hollywood, and when you look at the actors and all that stuff. So that's just my opinion. Thanks for tuning in. Went on a bit of a rant there, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. This is Matthew Brand, and thanks for watching or listening.